Google gives you millions of results. These websites give you exactly what you need. In this video, you'll discover 3 free websites that can help you learn almost anything without spending a dollar. Most people spend hours searching Google for free courses, books, documentaries, or lectures. OpenCulture does that work for you. Instead of creating its own content, it collects thousands of free educational resources from universities, libraries, museums, archives, and public websites, then organizes everything into one place. Let's take a tour. At first glance, this website doesn't look impressive. No modern design, no animations, no AI chatbot, just links. But that's exactly why people overlook it. OpenCulture isn't trying to create courses, it's trying to organize the best free educational resources already available across the internet. Think of it as a massive directory instead of a learning platform. Right at the top, you already get an idea of how much is here. There are dedicated sections for online courses, audiobooks, movies, podcasts, ebooks, and languages. Instead of opening 10 different websites, everything starts from this single navigation bar. The center of the homepage constantly features new educational articles. These aren't random blog posts. Most articles introduce documentaries, lectures, books, historical archives, university resources, or educational videos. So even before you click anything, you're already discovering new topics. Now look at the right side. This small section might be the most useful part of the homepage. It links directly to the biggest collections on the website, including over 1,700 free online courses, more than 1,100 free movies, around 1,000 free audiobooks, and hundreds of textbooks, hundreds of language lessons. Instead of searching through menus, you can jump directly into the largest libraries. Just beside that is Great Lectures. This is a collection of lectures from some of the most influential thinkers in history. You'll find names like Richard Feynman, Carl Sagan, Joseph Campbell, Michel Foucault, Margaret Atwood, Richard Dawkins, Oxford Philosophy Lectures. Each one links directly to free lectures available online. No searching required. Now let's open free courses. This is probably what most people come here for. Instead of organizing courses by university, OpenCulture organizes them by subject: computer science, data science, engineering, business, history, literature, philosophy, physics, psychology, economics, and dozens more. Many of these courses come from universities like MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Berkeley, and Oxford. Some include complete lecture series. Others include reading material, assignments, and downloadable notes. Everything is already categorized. Next is free movies. This isn't a collection of random uploads. It's a directory of legally available classic films. You'll find sections for film noir, silent films, documentaries, martial arts, Charlie Chaplin, Hitchcock, Tarkovsky, Oscar winners. The language lessons section is another hidden gem. There are resources for Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, French, German, Italian, Arabic, Russian, English, and many other languages. Some include complete university courses. Others offer audio lessons, grammar guides, downloadable material, vocabulary practice. If you enjoy reading, the ebook section is packed with free books. You'll find collections from Project Gutenberg, university libraries, and public domain archives. There are classics from Edgar Allan Poe, Philip K. Dick, Neil Gaiman, Stephen King, and many other authors. This site simply brings them together into one searchable place. There's also a large collection of free audiobooks. They're divided into fiction, poetry, and non-fiction. Most are professionally organized and available to listen to immediately. Students will probably spend the most time in the textbooks section. You'll find free textbooks covering computer science, mathematics, physics, engineering, and many other subjects. Many of these are open license university textbooks that are completely free to access. One section that surprises a lot of people is free art and images. Instead of searching museum websites individually, OpenCulture links directly to collections from institutions like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Smithsonian, the Getty, the Rijksmuseum, the British Library, Google Arts and Culture, and many others. It's an easy way to explore thousands of artworks from around the world. Music lovers aren't left out either. The free music section includes classical recordings, sheet music, opera, historic performances, and large public music archives. If you're interested in improving your writing, there's an entire writing tips section. Instead of generic advice, it features lessons inspired by well-known writers like Stephen King, Kurt Vonnegut, Ernest Hemingway, Margaret Atwood, and Ray Bradbury. And if you keep scrolling, you'll eventually reach one of the biggest parts of the website, the categories section. Almost every topic you can think of has its own page. Artificial intelligence, astronomy, business, computer science, design, economics, entrepreneurship, film, history, law, philosophy, psychology, science, technology, TED Talks, Yale, Wikipedia, and many more. If a free resource exists somewhere on the internet, there's a good chance OpenCulture has already indexed it. If you're someone who enjoys learning online, OpenCulture is one of those websites that's worth bookmarking because you'll probably keep coming back to it. The next website takes a different approach. Instead of collecting courses, it gives you direct access to courses from one of of the world's best universities. Most universities treat their courses like private property. MIT made a very different decision. More than 20 years ago, instead of locking its lectures, assignments, and teaching material behind tuition fees, the university started publishing them online for anyone to access. Not selected lessons, not promotional previews, entire courses. Today, that collection has grown into thousands of courses, spanning almost every major discipline taught at MIT. The homepage doesn't immediately reveal how massive it is. It feels surprisingly simple. A search bar, a list of departments, a few featured courses. Nothing flashy, but that changes the moment you begin exploring. Computer science is usually where most people start. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, algorithms, computer graphics, operating systems, computer vision, programming languages, cybersecurity, databases, human-computer interaction, software construction. Each title leads somewhere completely different. Some courses focus almost entirely on theory. Others revolve around building software from the ground up. A course on artificial intelligence might spend weeks exploring search algorithms, reasoning systems, and machine learning. A programming course gradually grows from simple code into complete software projects. Another dives deep into computer systems, explaining how operating systems, processors, memory, and networks work together beneath the applications most people use every day. But computer science is only one building on this digital campus. A few clicks away, mathematics opens another world. Calculus, linear algebra, probability, discrete mathematics, optimization, differential equations, numerical methods, graph theory. Some of these subjects appear throughout MIT's engineering courses, so it's common to move from one department into another without even realizing it. The connections are everywhere. Robotics pulls concepts from mathematics. Machine learning depends heavily on probability. Computer graphics borrows ideas from geometry. Physics overlaps with calculus almost immediately. Instead of feeling like isolated courses, everything begins fitting together like pieces of a much larger puzzle. Then there's physics, classical mechanics, quantum mechanics, electromagnetism, relativity, statistical physics, nuclear science, astrophysics. Some courses include classroom recordings captured during actual lectures. No studio lights, no dramatic background music, just students sitting in lecture halls while professors work through equations, diagrams, and demonstrations. Others rely almost entirely on written material. Hundreds of pages of lecture notes replace hours of video. Each week builds naturally on the previous one, almost exactly the way it would during a semester on campus. The notes themselves are worth exploring. They're not short summaries prepared for the internet. Many look exactly like the material handed out inside the classroom. Diagrams fill the pages. Equations stretch across entire sections. Examples appear beside explanations. Some notes even include handwritten annotations or sketches that make complex ideas easier to follow. And because everything stays organized week by week, it's surprisingly easy to see how an entire semester develops from the first lecture to the final exam. But lectures are only one piece of the puzzle. Every few weeks, another section begins appearing. Assignments, not the kind designed to take 10 minutes. Programming challenges, mathematical proofs, engineering calculations, research exercises, design problems. Some require writing hundreds of lines of code. Others ask students to model physical systems or analyze real-world scenarios using mathematics they learned only a few weeks earlier. The projects become larger as the semester continues. Small exercises gradually turn into complete systems. A programming course that begins with simple functions might end with students building an interpreter, designing a search engine, or creating software capable of solving complex problems. Engineering courses follow a similar pattern. Concepts introduced early in the semester quietly reappear inside larger design projects weeks later. Nothing feels isolated. Every assignment builds towards something bigger. Then another pattern starts becoming obvious. Research papers begin appearing throughout the course material. Reference books, scientific articles, programming documentation. Instead of keeping everything inside one website, many courses constantly point toward original sources, encouraging students to explore beyond the classroom. That makes the website feel less like a collection of online lessons and more like the starting point for much deeper research. The more departments you explore, the more surprising the catalog becomes. MIT isn't only engineering and computer science. Architecture opens courses on urban design, sustainable buildings, and digital fabrication. Economics moves through financial markets, public policy, and game theory. Philosophy explores ethics, logic, and the questions that have shaped human thinking for centuries. There are courses on music, linguistics, biology, chemistry, aerospace engineering, and dozens of other subjects that most people never associate with MIT. If MIT teaches you knowledge, this next website helps you put it into practice. Meet the Odin Project. Most websites promise they'll teach you how to code. The Odin Project makes a much bigger promise. It says it can prepare you for a real career in web development. That sounds like marketing until you spend a few minutes exploring the website, because almost everything here feels backwards compared to modern online learning. There are no premium plans, no certificates waiting at the end, no countdown timers, no AI tutor answering every question for you, and no endless video playlist encouraging you to watch just one more lesson. Instead, you're expected to build things, break them, fix them, then build something even better. That's what makes the Odin Project different. Not because it teaches programming. Thousands of websites already do that. It's because it tries to recreate the experience of becoming a developer instead of simply explaining programming concepts. And once you understand that, the entire website starts making a lot more sense. The homepage is almost surprisingly plain. If you were expecting flashy animations or promises of six-figure salaries, you'll be disappointed. Instead, you're greeted by a simple headline. Your career in web development starts here. That's it. No distractions, no gimmicks, just an invitation to begin. That simplicity reflects the philosophy behind the entire project. The website isn't trying to sell you motivation. It's trying to help you build discipline, and that's a surprisingly important difference. As you continue exploring, another thing stands out. There isn't a pricing page, no locked lessons, no premium roadmap hidden behind a subscription. Every lesson, project, exercise, and learning path is completely free. That immediately raises an obvious question. How can something this extensive cost nothing? The answer is one of the biggest reasons developers respect it. The Odin Project is open source. Instead of being maintained by a company chasing subscriptions, it's built and improved by developers from around the world. When technology changes, the curriculum changes. When someone discovers a better learning resource, they can contribute it. When an outdated lesson is found, the community updates it. In other words, the course evolves alongside web development itself. That's a huge advantage in an industry where tools can become outdated within a few years. Now click Get Started. Most beginners expect the first lesson to teach JavaScript or Python or maybe even AI. Instead, you're introduced to something called Foundations. At first, it sounds a little boring, but it's actually one of the smartest decisions the curriculum makes. Most people assume programming is about memorizing syntax, variables, functions, loops, conditionals. Those things matter, but they're only part of the job. Professional developers spend far more time solving problems than writing syntax. They read documentation, research unfamiliar technologies, debug errors, organize projects, collaborate with teammates, learn new tools. The Foundations course starts by teaching those habits first. Programming comes after. That might seem slower than other courses, but it's also much closer to how real software development works. Scroll through the roadmap and you'll notice something interesting. Nothing feels random. Each lesson builds directly on the previous one. You begin by understanding how the web works. Then you prepare your computer, learn the command line, use Git, work with GitHub, build pages with HTML, style them using CSS. Only after you've built a strong foundation do you begin creating larger JavaScript applications. Some beginners wonder why they're not writing code within the first few minutes. The reason is simple. Writing code isn't usually the hardest part of being a developer. Managing everything around the code is. That's why the Odin Project introduces the tools professionals actually use every day instead of treating them like optional extras. One of those tools surprises almost everyone. Very early in the curriculum, you're encouraged to use Linux. For someone who's never programmed before, that sounds intimidating. Why change your operating system before you've even written your first application? Because many professional development environments are built around Linux. Most web servers run Linux. Cloud platforms rely on it. Backend development often assumes you're comfortable using Linux commands. Rather than hiding that reality, the Odin Project introduces it early. It makes the first few days slightly more challenging, but it removes months of confusion later. Again, the website consistently chooses long-term understanding over short-term convenience. Another thing you'll notice is that the lessons don't try to explain absolutely everything. Instead, they regularly send you somewhere else. You'll read articles from MDN, official Git documentation, JavaScript info, React documentation, Node.js guides. At first, that feels strange. Isn't the course supposed to teach you? Then you realize that's exactly what it's doing. Experienced developers don't memorize every command, method, or framework. They know where to find reliable answers. Documentation isn't a backup plan. It's part of the workflow. Need to understand a JavaScript method? Open MDN. Working with React? Read the official docs. Trying to configure a backend framework? Go straight to its documentation. The Odin Project builds that habit from the very beginning. Eventually, something changes. You stop asking, why doesn't this lesson explain everything? Instead, you start asking, where can I find the answer? That small shift completely changes changes how you learn. Instead of becoming dependent on tutorials, you become comfortable exploring unfamiliar technologies on your own. And that's one of the most valuable skills any developer can have, because programming languages evolve, frameworks change, libraries come and go. The ability to learn never becomes outdated. Then the projects begin. Instead of giving you another long lecture, curriculum asks you to build something: a recipe website, a landing page, a calculator, personal portfolio. At first, they seem simple until you actually start building them. Suddenly, the layout breaks. Flexbox refuses to cooperate. CSS behaves differently than you expected. JavaScript throws an error you don't understand. Many beginners, this is the moment they think they're failing. They're not. They're experiencing real development for the first time. Professional developers don't write perfect code either. They experiment, break things, read documentation, fix bugs, and repeat the process until everything works. The Odin Project doesn't protect you from that experience. It throws you directly into it. And that's exactly why so many people improve so quickly, because solving problems yourself teaches lessons that watching videos never can. Every major milestone ends with another project, not another quiz. Working software is the proof that you've understood something, not selecting the correct answer from 4 choices. As the projects become larger, another skill starts developing naturally: planning. Early on, everything fits inside your head. Later, you begin thinking about structure before writing code. How should these files be organized? Can this function be reused? Will this code make sense 6 months from now? By this point, you've probably noticed something. The Odin Project doesn't try to impress you. There are no daily login rewards, no colorful badges, no leaderboard telling you you're ahead of everyone else. At first, it almost feels like something is missing. Then you realize it was removed intentionally, because software development isn't built on constant motivation. It's built on consistency. Some days you'll finish an entire project. Other days you'll spend hours fixing a single bug. Both days count. Both days make you better. Eventually, the curriculum branches into 2 full-stack paths. One focuses on JavaScript, the other on Ruby on Rails. Whichever path you choose, the philosophy stays the same. Learn the fundamentals, build real projects, solve unfamiliar problems, and become comfortable learning new technologies instead of memorizing old ones. That's the lesson hidden underneath every project, every article, and every exercise. The Odin Project isn't really trying to teach you a programming language. It's teaching you how developers think, how they research, how they debug, how they organize code, how they collaborate, how they continue learning long after a course is over. That's why experienced engineers recommend it year after year, because it's one of the closest simulations of real software development you'll find without spending a dollar. And if you enjoyed discovering this website, there are hundreds more hidden corners of the internet worth exploring. So if you don't want to miss the next one, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every week, uncovering websites, tools, and resources that most people never hear about. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.